children to stay up late to watch. You are a hero in our home. They've never seen themselves until now through you. He said a few other things, and every time someone asks me that question, it comes alive to me. Sometimes I abbreviate it to get through it. Sometimes I remember more and share it. And I'm sure I won't share the whole thing because my eardrums were kind of pounding. My head was like, this is Dr. King talking to me. And I said, well, thank you so much, Dr. King. I'm going to miss my co-stars because, and he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, I told Gene yesterday I'm leaving the show because I was offered. He said, you cannot. And if that little boy Willis had probably done his show before, I would have said, what you doing, my Dr. Martin? But I didn't. I just looked. And he said, don't you understand what this man has done? He's changed the world. He's changing the world and how people think of each other. Have you ever had a little dog that you're talking to and the dog looks at you and goes, because I'd never heard that before. I'd never thought of it. I only knew that I was going to create this calm, wonderful character. And he said, images, television, this technology is recreating how we see ourselves. For the first time, the world will see us as we really are. Not just wonderful singers and dancers and tap dancers and comedians. They're seeing a whole human being. And you have created that being. And you have a responsibility. You have been given a gift. It may change your whole career. But what little children are seeing is change how they think of themselves. Black, white, yellow, brown, and red. They see themselves differently because they have not seen themselves on TV before. In that manner. You cannot leave now. The job is not done. Because if you leave, that door can close. What your job is, and what your character's done, has opened the door for us to see, for the world to see us and themselves differently. If you leave, anyone could step into that role and do it totally different, and it might be entertaining, it might be nice, but it won't be what you have done. I said, I don't understand. He said, you do not have a female role. You do not have a black role. You are the communications officer. You're on a 5-year mission. You are 4th in command. And I said, what? Nobody had ever told me that, and I didn't understand the military. and he said, Nichelle, little children are watching, and big children are watching. And humans who have thought of us differently and themselves differently are watching. And because it is not a black role or a female role, they are looking at who you are, what you represent. And Nichelle, that is what we are marching for. That's what we are marching in peaceful resistance for. And all they have to do is turn on the TV on things Thursday or Friday and see themselves. Black, white, yellow, brown, and red. What he has done on that show has given an array of what humankind has evolved to, because it's 300 years from now. And it's starting with the first march. You cannot leave. And I could not leave. And I went back to Gene Roddenberry on Monday and I told him what Dr. King had said. And he sat behind that same desk with that big hatchet face of his. And he looked up at me. And he said, God bless Dr. Martin Luthor King. Somebody understands what I am fighting for and ready to die for. And I looked at Gina. A big tear came down. He wasn't crying, but just a tear rolled down his face. And I left a different person from that office, and I said, thank you, Gene. I guess I'll take that. I'll stay if you want me to. And he reached in his desk and he pulled out my resignation, and it had already been torn up into 1,000 pieces. I handed it to him. And I blessed that moment, and I treasured that moment, and it changed my life. And I've never looked back. And I've been rewarded in manners and ways that no one can. Years later, 10 years later, I recruited the first women and minority astronauts for the space shuttle program. I traveled all over America convincing people that NASA was truthful when they said, this time it's different. And so, and now 10 years later again, I'm back doing wonderful works and speaking and working with NASA again all over the country. And I'm writing plays and I'm doing things and I'm just happy as I can be. And I am no happier that I can be than I am sitting here with you, and thank you for that.